Welcome to the 95th episode of the Supernatural Occurrence Studies podcast.
So damn paranormal.
My name is Jason Knight, host of the show, and with me, as always, is
Oscar Spector,
producer extraordinaire and co-host.
It's like saying my name.
I like when you say that.
Yeah,
we tried to do that last time and I forgot.
No, that's not trying.
I didn't try at all. I did it this time.
Sorry, it's like pointing at things sarcastically.
Yeah. God, it feels like we were just doing this.
It feels like that.
It really does.
Right.
But this is a whole new recording session. 2 weeks.
That tornado was crazy.
2 weeks. Here we are, recording
Yeah.
once again. Continuing on with Charlie Manson. Lexi,
Totes.
this is two episodes in a row you're here. How are you?
I am pretty good. How are you?
I'm splendid. I've been drinking. I'm feeling good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I've been drinking too.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking a concoction that I made at Starbucks with your vanilla vodka.
Is it the TikTok drink?
The fuck is a TikTok drink?
You haven't had this order yet? Oh my god.
What is a TikTok drink?
Oh my god. You're so lucky.
This is a Starbucks
drink.
insider shit right now.
Yes, it's Starbucks insider shit. Sorry.
Pinkity drinkity, she said.
No, coming close to me. We're both talking.
Oh, yeah, get close. There you go.
Okay.
Yes.
I've heard girls order the pinkity drinkity.
What the fuck is that made out of?
It's a pink drink, but they call it a pinkity drinkity.
That's stupid. I've
They
never heard of that.
actually,
Stupid.
they say over the loudspeaker,
they'll do it like
pinkity.
this, too. A pinkity drinkity.
And Lexi just made the hand motion.
She did.
She kind of rolled her eyes at the same time.
She
Oh
did.
my god.
A pinkity drinkity.
She did it again. She did it again.
Oh
I
my
can
God.
see these girls.
I want to
Do they
kill
have
myself.
Uggs on?
I'm pretty sure, but it's kind of like... No, I guess it is still
It's
like
like-
fall. It's fall. No, it's not summer. It's not spring. It's fall.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Okay,
It's fall now.
sure. Anyway,
It's cold.
no, it's not a pinkety fucking whatever. Sarsaparilla either.
Sarsaparilla.
It's a frappuccino. It's a vanilla bean frappuccino with all the inclusions. So dragon fruit inclusion,
Yes.
berry inclusion, and
Yes.
strawberry inclusions.
Wait, so this is
The
coffee?
dried. No.
We banned that at our store. We told them we can't blend it.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I wish.
especially through the drive-through.
wish I could
Because we
say
only
that.
have one blender,
Yeah.
and it's ridiculous. I don't want to make that. No one wants to make that. So
Who
we're
wants to
like, sorry,
make that?
We can't blend that.
I hate making it.
And how do you call that drink?
They call it a TikTok drink
A TikTok.
From the app.
from the app.
From the app.
Yeah, you know
TikTok
that.
is ruining
did-
children all around. If your kid is using TikTok,
Wait here.
No, they don't.
Oh, they don't? I thought
delete
they
the
did.
app
No.
from their phone.
We
and
had a
ban
conversation
them.
I
about
don't
this,
think
Jay.
so.
We had a conversation about this.
Is my kid on TikTok?
You mentioned something to me about TikTok.
I'm going to go upstairs right now and beat her ass.
You don't even know what it is.
I'm going to beat her in her sleep.
What's TikTok? What do you think TikTok is?
Well, it's an app.
It's a gateway drug?
It's probably, I'm sure it's like,
Vine was the gateway drug to TikTok.
what was that app?
Vine.
Yeah, Vine, yeah.
It's like Vine, but worse because it's literally like you probably don't know this, but like, okay, how do I explain? It's like, have you ever watched
Everyone's listening
like
right now.
your friends on Snapchat like lip syncing on
I
their
don't have
story
Snapchat.
when they
Oh my God.
drive?
He doesn't know what
No.
Snapchat is, honey.
I know
Okay.
what Snapchat is.
It's literal people like lip syncing and like dancing
He was in the Korean
awkwardly.
War.
I was not in the Korean War.
Dancing awkwardly like in front of their phone. Like it is absolutely pointless. Like they are using no talent at all.
I
Good
think-
job. You know how to like lip sync words.
Jinx. Not it.
Yeah. That's lip syncing, basically. A lip sync app.
It is a literal way for e-girls to get more followers. That's all I'm
E-girls. What is an e-girl?
saying. Internet girls. They're like the thoughties.
The what?
The thoughties.
Did you... Oscar,
I'm just surprised you said that on the show. Explain this now.
what is a thoughty?
You know, like girls who dress up in cosplay and sell their nudes on Patreon. Belle Delphine is a perfect
Wait a
example.
minute. I got to go to Patreon. Nudes? Wait, what? Cosplay
You
nudes?
can find porn for free, Jay.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, Belle Delphine is the perfect example.
What does
Of
that
a,
mean?
of a
I
thoughty.
thought that hoe out there.
That hoe out there.
Oh.
Thoughty.
Oh, my God. I'm so behind the times.
So I only found out about this
I feel
recently,
so
which is
old.
why I freaked out when she said it. I'm like, oh my God, we're talking about this on fucking SOS show. But yeah, that's a thing.
You never know what's going to come up in our intros.
You never know.
I'm glad Lexi's back. She enlightened me on thoughty.
So if
That girl out there?
yeah,
That hoe out there.
that hoe, yeah.
Literally, just like focus on the hoe.
Okay, got it.
That's basically what it means.
Yeah, I'm gonna go beat my kid in their sleep just in case.
No, she's
on.
probably just using it for like lip syncing and
She
whatever.
does. Yeah, she loves to sing. Loves to sing.
But
Yeah.
she's not actually singing.
I don't know.
No, it's just lip syncing.
He's lip syncing.
That's all it is. That's the thing. That's
the
what you're
video that
supposed to
ends
do.
up- yeah.
Yes.
Oh, huh.
So there's no actual talent.
I am a horrible parent. I'm an uninvolved parent. I don't know.
Yeah,
Have you
just
ever
learn some
watched
new
any of her
phrases.
videos?
No,
Yeah,
No.
bro.
Look her up right now. Go on TikTok.
I don't have TikTok. Who's got TikTok? Do you have
I
TikTok?
don't have fucking TikTok. I barely have Snapchat.
I refuse to download it. I get ads all the time.
I gotta go be a better parent. We gotta pause this episode.
Charles Manson's going to take a break, guys. That's funny.
I'm gonna put Vicks over her eyes and her mouth so she can't see, can't scream.
Four
while I beat her.
rooms. 4 rooms.
There you go.
That's good. The Metalothylin.
Doesn't Alexa like have a way to like look in her
Oh
room?
yeah, I could
Can't you
dial.
just
I
see?
could drop in on her room and just listen.
Yeah.
But you have to be at the right
But then
time.
I
Thing,
feel
but like
bad.
weird like steps, like her like stepping around in this.
She's doing a samba? What is
I'm
that?
like, oh, my girl's tap dancing. Good for her. Good for her.
Nope.
No, she's being a thoughty.
Well, no, it's like it can be used for that, and it seems to be a great way for those types to do it. But
an example.
from what I can tell, it seems like a lot of perfectly young, innocent girls, usually young around Talia's age
Yeah.
or a little older, do it just for kicks and for fun, just to do it.
just do it.
The new thing to do. That's all.
Okay.
So it could be perfectly innocent, but it also could perfectly not be.
Well, we've gotten texts from our family members before
Yeah.
who are on like Snapchat and stuff.
Yeah.
Who said like, so you know, Talia just took a picture in a bathing suit, and
Oh.
we're like, oh, Talia, come here.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
because they don't understand, they don't get it. They don't understand stranger danger. They don't understand
Well,
pedophilia.
it's also something that you don't understand either. I mean, I'm on the cusp more than you because, you're 10,000 times older than I am. That we grew up not with YouTube, with no Facebook.
Definitely.
We didn't grow up with those. We don't have those problems, Jay.
That's
I
right.
am going to show you an e-girl. The e-girl.
Is she
She's
naked?
Philadelphian.
Is
she
She's
naked?
pretty hot, yeah.
Is she naked?
No.
Oh, holy shit! She looks like that's real. She's a real person. Yes. Her face looks fake.
She's so real.
I mean, she's hot, but she looks like, you know what she looks like? That Russian Barbie.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Russian
Yeah.
Barbie? Oh wow! Oh yeah! Open your mouth. Yeah. Yeah. Lick your lips.
Jay, your daughter's on this thing.
Oh god. Well, she is hot. If I ever saw my daughter doing that, I would fucking strangle her. Look at her. Look, open. Now, why would you be opening your mouth that way?
She's dressed like Diva. Well, she's
you
just
know what
she's
she's
quirky weird. She's weird that way. She's famous because she's weird. She does
Well,
weird
and
things.
she's
like
got a
that.
butcher. She's licking the butcher knife.
Yeah.
This girl's got to be 15 years old. She has braces.
She's like 18 now.
Close your mouth, you dumb bitch. I'm sorry. This is repulsive.
I love showing Jay.
Oh,
Jay's
why they
catching
got
up to the
blur out her
times.
ass? And she's in a
Because it's
a
on YouTube.
pink-
It's on YouTube. That's why.
Why does she keep doing that with her mouth?
That's her thing.
She
That's
opens her
signature.
mouth super
It's
wide
like
and
the
sticks
Cardi
her
B
tongue
with the.
out.
brrr.
No, it's a literal thing going around the internet now.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It's called I forgot what it's called. I keep wanting to say affogato, but it's not that.
That's
The tongue thing? Look at
It's
her.
some sort of like hentai face.
Yeah, and you know what hentai means?
Yeah.
That means she's about to be cummed on by 20 different guys.
That's bukkake, but yeah.
Oh, here she is. Here she is. This is her Instagram.
This is the best conversation of the most useless podcast.
Literally,
ever.
I know I like
Oh,
shit
we're
talk,
sure.
but Belle Delphine is like, God, if you're listening to this, I love you.
Yeah, I know you like her.
Whoa. Now, in that picture, she has black electrical tape over her nipples.
That's a very common thing, Jay. It's been around for a while.
Hold up, let me find my favorite.
But yeah, there's a lot of shit. She's shown me a
I'm
lot of
looking at an
pictures.
18-year-old, right? Please tell me I am.
Yes.
And she's taken the shower head, and she's fully clothed with butt shorts
you
on,
don't
and
have
she's
to.
spraying the
Boy shorts.
boy shorts. Yeah, boy shorts, spraying the.
I'm so glad I'm with
shower
Lexi. She
nozzle
shows me all
into
the
her
new stuff.
asshole.
I have
That's
no
what
idea
she was
up.
doing.
Yeah.
Okay,
And this is the new hotness,
This is one of them, yeah.
to quote Will Smith. Will Smith, anybody?
Miami singer? Yeah, Miami creator.
Oh yeah. Oh, see, that is simulating cum. That is supposed to be cum.
Yes.
So it is a frying pan full of raw
Why are
eggs
you describing it?
that she pours over herself and then rubs her breasts. She has a halter top on, but the eggs are that symbolize. That's what that is. That is what that is.
Yeah, and then, but she actually does for real these things. sexual things on Snapchat and sells it to people who buy her membership.
But she never takes nudes. She'll literally
thought she did.
no, she charges like $50 just for like strip teases.
So she'll
I
get
didn't know that.
drenched
I thought
show herself nude.
my bad. I will correct myself. I thought she actually did it, but I guess she can afford not to.
We got to move on. Charlie Manson.
I'm just saying.
Charlie Manson.
I'm trying to help you in
This
your
is
modern
horrid.
day.
I found her face again. Hold on.
Oh, let's see her face. Oh, she has a syringe. She's licking the syringe seductively with her tongue.
This is totally that Yu-Gi-Oh card. This is totally what that is.
I mean, this is to simulate a blowjob, but it is a syringe filled with white liquid.
Milk, probably.
She's in like a nurse's uniform of some kind, it looks like. Now, I bet you she's going to spray that on her face. Look at her. Oh, now she has a banana. Yeah.
She's dressed like Diva.
She's licking, she's teasing the tip of the banana, and there go. Holy shit, the whole banana went down her throat. What the fuck are we watching?
This is popular. This is TikTok.
This is our intro.
This is TikTok.
This is an intro to.
Dude, I don't know what to tell you. You kept going down that rabbit
This is
hole.
my
I was
piece
trying
de
to warn you.
resistance.
I was trying to warn you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know whether to be turned on or repulsed. That's the problem.
You could be both. I'm
guess.
both. Because I'm also worried for Talia.
Oh, God.
But I'm always worried about Talia. Like in the same way, like you have
She has a lot of money.
This girl?
Yes.
like a fuck ton.
Really?
Yes.
I would probably deep throat a banana, too, if I got that kind of money.
Yeah, but you don't look like her.
No, I
On
don't.
yourself.
Yeah, the raw eggs. Oh, God. Come on.
There was one where she actually like bit into an egg, like a raw egg, like with the shell and
Ew.
everything.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
That was like, I can't find it, but it was terrible,
Ugh.
disgusting.
Nasty ass.
And a million hits.
Million hits. Isn't
Probably.
that ridiculous?
I mean, probably. I don't know.
And I'm
about that.
begging people to leave us reviews on iTunes.
And we're doing actual research and I mean that's the thing.
We're
Yeah,
busting
yeah.
our ass.
Of course. That's how it works. It's what gets hot, what gets also immediately. It's all about the media too. We're not that immediate. We're not into that kind of culture. We're just not because that's not who we are.
No, you're right.
Yeah, this requires actual work and shit. Ooh, my new episode of Luther.
Well, thank you for enlightening us, Alexi. That was very interesting.
Or de-enlightening him.
I just lost IQ points.
You just lost a few, and they're gone.
Not as smart as Mr. Charles Manson, apparently.
So now you know about TikTok, e-girls,
Hate it.
Thoughts.
Hate them.
and Belle Delphine, and Thotties.
And thotties.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's like that time we showed you Cardi B. It was hilarious.
The world we live in.
You never disappoint me.
Cardi B.
Yeah.
Lexi, how does Cardi B go?
I can't do it.
We used to.
Oh, Kurt.
Oh,
You used to do it on the show.
I couldn't do it. No, I can't roll my R's.
oh,
Yeah, like that. What he did.
How did you do it, Oscar?
oh,
Oh, crrrt.
something like that. I don't know. I don't know her super well.
The Kardashians also do that.
They do the Cardi B thing?
Yeah, I think they got it. I think she got it from the Kardashians.
Oh,
Or they're all
really?
just sharing it. I don't know if they have like a license on it.
Is there an origin? You can't
Is that-
license a sound like
Is that copywritten? I don't know.
You can't copyright everything. The oxygen in this room belongs to Jay only. We can't talk about it.
You gotta pay me.
It's so ridiculous.
Pay me to breathe,
Who
motherfucker.
knows what they'll do?
Life is so ridiculous.
Kardashians.
It is ridiculous.
I just lost hope points for the world.
Yes.
Just lost them. Sorry.
Well, we're gonna lose more with this episode
I am so sorry, folks.
to bring it back.
Folks, I hope you enjoy it, though. I mean, I enjoyed it on a certain level.
No, this was good.
Okay.
This was good. So I think we should just run down the contact info. We were like, what are we going to say to open it up? We usually do the banter back and forth.
Yes.
We got it.
We got it.
Thank you, Lexi.
Yeah.
Facebook at Chicago Ghost Podcast on
I
Facebook.
wonder what the website is first.
Leave us. Oh, you did say that, didn't you?
I'm sorry. I was just making fun of you. You don't have to.
Last episode.
You do you.
ChicagoGhostPodcast.com is our website.
It's our face.
Now I'm all fucked up. Chicago Ghost Podcast is our website. You can get to all of our social accounts on the website. Just click on follow, and you can get to our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, our YouTube, our Patreon. Follow us on Facebook at Chicago Ghost Podcast, Instagram and Twitter at Chicago Ghosts. YouTube is Supernatural Occurrence Studies. While you're on our YouTube channel, be sure and subscribe and ring the bell so you're notified every time we upload new content. My newest video is still up there. Another Blink Camera Ghost, it's called.
Glamora.
Not getting a lot of love. Go ahead and check that out. Patreon.com/Supernatural Occurrence Studies Podcast.
Forward.
Patreon.com/Supernatural Occurrence Studies Podcast. If you want to help support the show and support our new research assistant, Jessica, call us or text us anytime. Chicago area code 872-529-0767. That's Chicago area code 872-529-0767.
That's like Templeton, Virginia area code.
Templeton. Leave us a message. Send us a text. We will play them and read them on the show. And finally, leave us some love on iTunes where it really counts.
Mm-hmm.
iTunes reviews helps listeners just like yourselves.
There's no me in iTunes.
Find our little show. So if I could get everyone who's left us Facebook comments or Instagram DMs or PMs or AMs, whatever the fuck, our tweets, our YouTube comments, if I could get you all to head over to iTunes and leave that same love there, Oscar will love you long time and let you pour pans of raw eggs all over his breasts.
Yolk. Just yolk.
A lot of yolk happening.
Yeah.
Yolk. There's an L in there. That's weird. Lexi, like she wants to say something, but she's afraid.
I found a video of her eating an egg.
Eating an egg video?
Oh.
Yeah, I did.
Do we do this on the show?
I mean, we can't show it on the
Is this
show.
an outtakes? What is this?
No. We could just skip it. She can show you later. I
Oscar,
remember this video.
Let's hear some commercials.
Let's do it.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Audible.com, with over 200,000 audio programs to choose from, Audible has you covered. Horror, mystery, true crime, sci-fi, nonfiction, and more. All narrated by A-list celebrities and very unique performers. Go to www.audibletrial.com/SOS Radio. That's audibletrial.com/SOS Radio. And claim your free 30-day trial and free audiobook now. That's audibletrial.com/SOS Radio.
That's why I make Jay laugh sometimes. Sometimes it's really easy.
Listeners, welcome back to the show. Please check out our sponsor and help support the podcast. We'd really appreciate it. And I'm sorry about the intro.
I'm not.
I'm sorry about the intro.
I'm not at all.
Well, let's jump into this and refocus. The lights are turned down low. The drinks are flowing.
They still are.
And the ceremonial candle is lit. Lexi, how lit is that ceremonial candle?
It's lit AF, fam.
Lit AF fam.
Jay, stop saying things. Jay, you're aging yourself.
Lit AF fam. Love it.
It's lit AF.
Thank you.
That was my basic voice.
Oh, basic. I know what a basic bitch is. I know that one. But
Yeah.
you're not a basic bitch. No. No one heard that.
No, but I can sound like one.
Do one more.
Wait, I could do the pinkity drinkity.
There it was. There it was. There it was.
Gotta do the hand thing.
Break out your Uggs.
My soul dies a little.
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
All right. So, to start this episode, we need to talk about something called Helter Skelter.
Not the cool song, though.
No, well,
yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
actually,
is.
yes. Yeah, right.
We already stated in the last episode that Manson was incredibly racist. Some of the psychobabble Manson preached to his followers was this idea of an impending apocalyptic race war between whites and blacks, something he referred to as Helter Skelter. Now, Helter Skelter, according to Manson, referred to a time when blood and chaos would reign, when blacks would rise up and slaughter the white oppressors. According to Manson, while the whites were fighting the blacks, white people would also rise up against their neighbor. Essentially, whites fighting whites and blacks, leading to the elimination of the white race. Helter Skelter would be the end of society. And while Helter Skelter was taking place, Manson and his followers would hide deep in an underground city underneath Death Valley, California. And once the race war was over and the blacks were victorious, Manson and his clan would emerge from under the sand and reign supreme over the remaining blacks. As Manson felt, blacks were too stupid to rule themselves. Thereby, Manson and his followers would rule the world. Now, we cannot talk about Manson's idea of Helter Skelter without talking about the Monday, November 25th, 1968 release of the Beatles' White Album. According to Manson, the White Album was written by the Beatles specifically for him.
Mm-hmm.
Manson said that the entire album was chock full of blatant and covert messages written directly to him, all pointing towards this apocalyptic race war and the Manson's family's ultimate rule over the survivors. And Manson brilliantly twisted the songs on the White Album to fit his ideas that he constantly preached to his family of followers. And damn it, if the Beatles were saying the exact same thing, what Manson was preaching had to be true. This was the goddamn Beatles.
Yeah.
And the Manson family, constantly tripping on acid during their leader's sermons, bought it all. Hook, line, and sinker. So let's look at some of those messages written to Manson on the White Album.
Piggies, man.
Oh, yeah. And let's see how he contorted them to fit his preaching.
Man, Revolution 9. Alone.
Oh, yeah. Wait,
Alone.
just wait.
Jesus.
First, there was the song Sexy Sadie, an obvious reference to one of Manson's favorite girls, Susan Atkins, who Charlie named Sexy Sadie way before the White Album came out. And Sexy Sadie, Susan Atkins, she really was sexy. She had a voluptuous body. She'd been a stripper and danced in Church of Satan creators Anton LaVey's burlesque shows prior to Manson picking her up. Sexy Sadie was also notorious for fucking anyone in any way imaginable.
That's a hell of a title to have.
There was the song Piggies, like you mentioned, Oscar, about class struggle, where Manson saw it as he and his family were the Piggies, crawling around in the dirt, always getting worse. And the bigger Piggies were those in starch white shirts, holding them down. The man. And according to the Piggies song, the only way to deal with the bigger Piggies was to give them a good whacking.
Blackbird.
God only could imagine what whacking meant to Manson.
Yeah. Probably jerking off.
No, I don't think
No?
so.
Oh, I thought it would mean that. My bad.
Now, one of my favorite Beatles songs, one of my favorite Beatles songs, Rocky Raccoon, was also bent and twisted to fit Manson's racist ideas. According to Manson, Rocky Raccoon was really about coons, black people.
Mm-hmm.
And when Paul McCartney sings about Good Rocky's revival, that was a clear reference to the revolution the black man would launch against white man. Another one of my favorite songs, Blackbird, about the struggles blacks suffered during slavery, to Manson was an obvious reference to what he had been saying for years, that the black man has been waiting for their moment to rise up and destroy white people. And if black men didn't know how to start that revolution, how to rise up and fight and kill the white suppressor, there was the song Happiness is a Warm Gun, which told black men to pick up a gun and shoot white men.
Mm-hmm.
Revolution 1, another one of my favorite Beatles songs, was an obvious message for Manson and his family. Just listen to the first few verses of the song and tell me, if you were preaching to a group of insanely loyal followers, all drugged up on acid, how couldn't this song sound legit to them? You say you want a revolution. The you in this sentence refers to the blacks, and possibly Manson himself. Well, we all want to change the world. Manson wanted to change society, to end it, so he and his family could rule, to change the world. You tell me that it's evolution. The blacks are bound to rise up. It's their evolution to do so. Well, we all want to change the world. Again, change through destruction and rebuilding. But when you talk about destruction, don't you know that you could count me out? Manson didn't foresee himself or his family fighting in Helter Skelter. They're going to hide out under Death Valley.
Yeah. Where it's like more of a peaceful sentence about not fighting.
They're just waiting it out.
You just retrofitted that.
Yeah. Hence, count me out. Well, don't you know it's going to be all right, all right, all right. The Manson family would reign supreme over the blacks. Hey, everything's going to be all right. You say you got a real solution. The black solution, according to Manson, was kill all whites. In other words, Helter Skelter. Well, we'd all love to see the plan. Speaking to the blacks, it's like, show us Helter Skelter. Kick it off. Show us the plan. You ask me for a contribution. Well, we're doing what we can. Manson's contribution would ultimately be ruling over the world and rebuilding in his image off of his ideas. But if you want money for people with minds that hate, all I could tell you is, brother, you have to wait. At the beginning of the Spawn Ranch days, Manson wasn't preaching hate or violence yet. It eventually turned into that, but in the beginning, he was still preaching love. But be prepared, be vigilant, arm yourselves for when Helter Skelter does happen, so you can protect yourselves. This very offensive sort of mindset. Didn't have time for people at that point who hate. Which is really funny because he was a raging racist.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes on, don't you know it's going to be all right, all right, all right. So this Revolution #1 song, I mean, that was like an anthem when you break it down and really analyze how Charlie was analyzing these lyrics.
What made him go there? I mean, what made him choose this album? Is it just the one, I mean, he just listens to everything and then like...
Yeah, I mean, music was one of the only things he let his listeners to, his followers listen to unfettered.
Yeah, okay.
They could listen to any music they want.
Yeah.
News, that was different.
Yeah, I bet.
Like we talked about in the last episode, he only let news come through that had to do with racial strife in L.A. Because it was all building up towards this idea of Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
Right? That's only new. But music was unfettered. They could listen to whatever they want.
What came first, the song or or him saying Helter Skelter?
What's that?
What came first, the Helter Skelter hymn or the song?
I think Helter Skelter came first.
The song, right?
The music, yes.
Yeah.
The song. Yeah. Yeah.
Because in history, isn't there something called that? That means something else? No?
No, I'll tell you what Helter Skelter means, but later.
Okay. No, I know it means something. I thought that some other piece of literature said it once. Or I don't know.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. I thought there was. Never mind. Okay. Continue.
So that's Revolution. Then the song Honey Pie off the White Album, according to Manson, was a coded message from the Beatles telling Manson to bring himself and his followers over to London to sail across the Atlantic and be where they belong, to use the song lyrics. Revolution 9, remember number 9?
Oh, yeah.
Number 9.
I've showed it to Lexi several times. It's really creepy.
Right. Well, according to Charles, it is creepy.
Yeah.
And it's loud, it's distorted, it's it clashes against itself. This
Yes,
song.
I love it.
I do too.
I read stuff about
I
that
do
song
too.
too.
But according to Charles Manson, Revolution 9 was an audio depiction of the coming race war. And listeners, if you haven't ever heard Revolution 9, check it out and hear for yourself what Charles Manson was hearing.
It's not really a song; it's like a track. It's like just an audio.
Yeah, it's not a song, but it's a track.
Yeah, it's just, it's a track, right?
It's a track.
It's literally what it is.
But it really could be the audio track to a war.
Yeah.
If you think about it in that context.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, there was Helter Skelter. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that Helter Skelter was actually a roller coaster over in London. That's it. That's what the song's about, a roller coaster. But, of course, Charles Manson didn't know that. To Charlie, Helter Skelter was the official name of the coming apocalypse.
Yeah.
So that's the breakdown of some of the most impactful songs to Manson off the White Album. It's so interesting. I could literally place myself there and hear Manson preaching about these songs, and I could almost buy into it. It's that freaky and coincidental. The lyrics and his teachings. It's there. It really is there.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Manson predicted to his family that a group of Black Panthers would break into a celebrity's home and murder everyone inside. And they would know it was the Black Panthers that did it because the killers would scrawl Panther messaging on the walls in blood. This act, Manson said, would be the beginning of Helter Skelter. Problem was, in order to incite Helter Skelter and get society to essentially annihilate itself, Manson had to frame the blacks for committing the crimes. Crimes that were so terrible, so abhorrent, so bloody against white people that white society would have no choice but to immediately plunge itself into a race war against the blacks in retaliation. And Manson had to be the one to do it, to kick it off, because the blacks were incapable of starting it by themselves. They were just too dumb. And this, kind listeners, is where we get into the murders. First, it must be said, inciting an apocalyptic race war, that's an expensive endeavor. The Manson family needed money. And here we find ourselves in the middle of the only known attempted murder actually committed by Manson's hands. And that is the July 1st, 1969 shooting of Bernard LotsaPoppa Crowe. LotsaPoppa was a black drug dealer in L.A. who did business with the Manson family from time to time. One day, Charles Manson got it in his head that it would be a good idea to send a family member named Charles Tex Watson to rob LotsaPoppa under the guise of a drug deal. On orders, Tex Watson went to LotsaPoppa and told him he needed some cash to score a large 25-kilo marijuana deal, from which profits would be shared between members of the Manson family and LotsaPoppa. Instead, Tex Watson took the cash, $2,500, and screwed the drug dealer, even though LotsaPoppa was holding on to Tex's girlfriend, Luella, as collateral. According to Tex, his girl didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was what Charlie wanted. And right now, Charlie wanted money.
Yeah.
When Tex didn't return with the drugs, LotsaPoppa threatened to go to Spahn Ranch, where the Manson family was living, and mow the whole place down, kill everybody. Frightened for their safety, Charles Manson, along with fellow family member named Thomas Walleman, went to Poppa first. Walleman was the intended shooter, but he chickened out at the last minute. So, Manson took the .22 caliber blunt-line revolver, the same gun used in the Tate Labianca murders, which we'll get into shortly, and shot LotsaPoppa and left him for dead. Manson believed he had killed the man, especially when, the next day, there was a report on TV about a black male, a Black Panther actually, who was shot and killed. Now Manson, in all his glorious ignorance, figured this person being talked about on the news was Bernard Crowe, LotsaPoppa. Bernard was big, he was black, therefore he must be a Black Panther. Not only did Bernard Crowe not die, he wasn't even a Black Panther. You can only guess Manson's surprise when, later on, Crowe showed up in court to testify against him, as this was the first time Manson saw the man since, quote-unquote, killing him.
So he didn't even know he was alive until court?
Until court.
That's crazy.
Now, ultimately, Crowe's testimony proved that even though Manson didn't kill him, he definitely had it in him to kill.
Yeah.
So, at this time, Manson believes Bernard Crowe is dead, so the problem was taken care of, but there was still the issue of funding Helter Skelter, as well as keeping his followers fed, and to keep the drugs flowing. Which brings us to July 25th, 1969, Topanga Canyon, and a man named Gary Allen Hinman. Hinman was known as a kind, gentle soul, a music whiz and intellectual. Hinman held a degree in chemistry. We have to hold on to this chemistry degree fact for a while. And he was close to receiving his PhD in sociology. He was smart, extremely intelligent. Hinman taught people how to play bagpipes, the piano, trombone, and the drums at a local music shop. He was into Buddhism, and he would let anyone needing a place to stay crash at his house in Topanga Canyon in Los Angeles. By all accounts, this is a really good dude. Unfortunately for Hinman, his affinity for music, his kindness, and his open door policy caused him to cross paths with the Manson family. From time to time, various members of the family would crash at Hinman's home, and word got back to Charlie that Hinman had come into some money in the form of an inheritance. Upon hearing of the inheritance, Manson wanted it, so he sent family members Bobby Beausoleil and Susan Adkins, Sexy Sadie, to Hinman's house to try to get that inheritance, any part of it. The conversation between Beausoleil, Adkins, and Hinman turned heated when Hinman wouldn't give them any money. So they took him hostage and tortured him. Hinman still wouldn't comply, so Beausoleil phoned Manson, told him what was happening, and Manson showed up and sliced off Hinman's ear with a sword to show him he wasn't fucking around. They meant business. They wanted the money. After all this, and still not getting anywhere, Manson left Hinman's home and took Atkins with him. Before he left, he told Bobby Beausoleil, quote, "You know what to do. Make it look like the Black Panthers did it," end quote. Reminding Beausoleil of Helter Skelter. It said that poor Hinman was tortured for 48 hours while tied to a chair, and Beausoleil ultimately stabbed him to death. Inside Hinman's residence, Bobby Beausoleil wrote "Political Piggies" and drew a cat's paw on a wall in Hinman's blood. Both markings left as a nod to the Black Panther Party, as the term pig or piggies was a term the Panther Party used often to refer to police officers, and the cat's paw was a Black Panther call symbol. Remember, these signs were left to frame the Panthers for Hinman's death and help get that race war going. Now, I'm sure you can imagine, Beausoleil, not the most intelligent guy. About a week after killing Hinman, August 7, 1969, Beausoleil is arrested driving Hinman's stolen Toyota. The knife used to kill Hinman and bloody clothes still in the car. Dumbass. Ultimately, Bobby B is incarcerated and sentenced to death. His death sentence is commuted to life, and he's still in prison to this day. Most recently, almost getting a crack at parole in January 2019.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the parole board actually recommended it. But Beausoleil's parole was denied by the governor of California. Now, this locking up of Beausoleil, that made Charles Manson really nervous. Would Beausoleil crack? Would Beausoleil finger Manson as an accomplice in Hinman's murder? And here, it said, is where Manson's idea for the Tate murders was born. If Manson could orchestrate another murder, or murders just like the one Beausoleil committed, same M.O., authorities would realize that the killer, or killers, were still at large. that Beausoleil couldn't have killed Hinman because he would be in custody when the copycat murders happened. And therefore Beausoleil would have to be set free, and any heat would be off of Manson.
Like drug logic.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this is a theory as to why the Tate-Labianca murders happened. Not to usher in Helter Skelter, but to get Beausoleil released from prison. The verdict is still out on whether or not this is true. Or did Manson really believe all of his Helter Skelter impending race war talk? And that's the reason why the murders took place. No one but Charles Manson knows, or knew. But who did believe in Helter Skelter, without a doubt, was his followers. So the Tate murders. The Tate murders occurred on August 8th into the 9th, 1969, at 10050 Celio Drive in Los Angeles. Prior to the Tate murders, the home on Celio Drive was rented by famous record producer named Terry Melcher, who was the son of actress Doris Day. His girlfriend, Candace Bergen played Murphy Brown in the popular television series called Murphy Brown, which ran from 1988 to 1998, and musician Mark Lindsay, lead singer of Paul Revere and the Raiders. And one of my favorite songs by Paul Revere and the Raiders is I'm not your stepping stone. I
don't know them.
I'm not your stepping stone. No. That's Paul Revere and the Raiders, in case people don't know. I don't know, maybe you heard of it. Now, we have to take a sidestep here and talk about this Terry Melcher connection, because it's important. If you remember from the last episode, it was Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys who introduced Charles Manson to Terry Melcher. Now, Terry Melcher, he was responsible for making bands like the Byrds, the Mamas and the Papas, Paul Revere and the Raiders, and to an extent, the Beach Boys, popular. Actually, Terry Melcher is credited as being a pivotal player in shaping the entire 1960s California sound and the folk rock movement during the counterculture era. He was a big deal. And meeting Melcher was an extremely big deal for Manson. And Manson did whatever he could to woo the producer, both as a person and a musician. And Manson had been to Melcher's Celio Drive home a number of times. Now, depending on which book you read or which article you analyze, Melcher either completely led Manson on, like, yeah, Charlie, you're great, I'll record you. Meanwhile, he's giving him the jerk-off motion the whole time. Or Melcher actually thought Manson had some talent as a musician, had that spark musicians have, and really did want to record Manson. Just not yet. Melcher thought Manson needed some time to mature as a musician. Either way, whichever story you buy, Melcher denied Manson a record deal, and Manson didn't like Melcher's snub one bit. But one thing Melcher did like was Manson's guru vibe, and the way the Manson family lived their hippie commune lifestyle. The sex, the drugs, the nakedness, the wanderlust, the women, all centered around this wacky guru wizard guy. Melcher was fascinated by that. So, Melcher approached Manson and offered to make a documentary about him and his family, which of course would feature Manson playing music, because that's what he did. The documentary wasn't a record, but it would have to do. And Manson grew fond of the idea, excited even. However, Melcher witnessed a drunken, violent altercation between Manson and a stuntman at Spahn Ranch named Shorty Shae, who we'll get into shortly. After witnessing this violent outburst by Manson, Melcher decided to abandon the documentary too. So Manson was left high and dry again. No record, no documentary.
Seems like he wouldn't offer that if he didn't think the guy had something. So maybe it seems like that's maybe some kind of evidence to say like, well, he's not ready for an album, but, you know, this will keep him going, interested, knowing that I have faith in him maybe, or this project, this documentary.
Maybe. I mean, the documentary, that would have launched Manson. Something would have come of it.
Yeah.
For sure. But he fucked it up.
Yeah. He got American movied.
American movied?
Have you seen that movie?
No.
It's a documentary about a guy trying to make a movie. And he's from Wisconsin, this guy, and he's a drunk and bit of a louse, but he knows his shit, right? And he wants to make a movie, and it's the process of him trying to make this movie that never gets made.
That definitely rings true here.
Yeah. And the documentary actually got famous for it, so. So.
Now, the common theory is the Manson family members went to the Cilio Drive home on that fateful night to teach Melcher a lesson for ditching on the recording contract and the documentary, while at the same time, hopefully kick off a race riot between blacks and whites by ushering in Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
Now again, as the story goes, unbeknownst to Manson, Melcher, Candice Bergen, and Mark Lindsay had moved out of the Cilio Drive home, and it was instead rented by famous director Roman Polanski. 1968's Rosemary's Baby, anyone?
Chinatown?
And his beautiful wife, actress Sharon Tate, an up-and-coming starlet in Hollywood, who was probably most famous for her role in a 1968 movie called Valley of the Dolls, and for being a model and a cover girl. What Sharon Tate was doing with dorky Polanski, I'll never know. And believe me, there's some trippy shit with the Polanskis and their Cilio Drive home, but that's for another episode. Now, it's come out since, in a number of sources, that Manson knew full well Melcher was gone from the Cilio Drive home by the time the Tate murders took place. And he actually ran into Sharon Tate, Manson did, a number of times when he went to the house looking for Melcher, and Tate herself told him Melcher no longer lived here. To Manson, murdering some celebrities would be just the thing to capture tons of attention and scare the living shit out of Melcher. So, Manson told some of his followers to go to the Cilio Drive home and kill everyone in it. He told them to make it look witchy, and to make it look like the Black Panthers committed the murders. Remember, to
right, because Black Panther's all about witchy.
Yeah, right. Remember, to Manson's followers, Helter Skelter, it was a real thing, regardless if Manson believed it or not. Being in a drugged-up haze, his assassins were all in and all too happily to oblige Manson and his request to kill. So, on that hot, sticky Friday night, August 8th into the 9th, 1969, 4 Manson family members went to 10050 Cilio Drive in Benedict Canyon with no other objective than to kill, viciously. 3 family members quietly entered the Polanski residence. That's Charles Tex Watson, Sexy Sadie Susan Atkins, and Patricia Krenwinkel, while a 4th family member, Linda Kasabian, stayed at the house's front gate to act as a lookout. At the end of the murder spree, 5 innocent people were slaughtered like pigs. Murdered were actress Sharon Tate. Tate was over 8 months pregnant at the time of her death, and again she was wife to film director Roman Polanski. At the time of his death, Polanski was overseas working on a film called The Day of the Dolphin in Europe, location scouting. And I know this entire thing is a tragedy, but Sharon Tate, man, probably the most beautiful woman to have ever graced Hollywood. Just tragic. And she was 8.5 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
It's a real, it's a real loss. Just because, it's such a strange public loss in general, and she was far from, actually getting her feet wet in the acting, you know. We don't know how good she would have been, of course.
And they said she was a wonderful woman. As beautiful as she was so down to earth. And just, it's fucked up. Anyway, so there was Sharon Tate as a victim. Then there was Jay Sebring. Sebring was a noted hairstylist and Sharon Tate's former lover, her ex-fiancé, actually. Jay Sebring made it big by revolutionizing the fashion industry, believe it or not, by introducing hairstyling to men. Abigail Folger is the 3rd victim. Now, Abigail was the heiress to the Folger Coffee Company fortune. She was set to be filthy, stinking rich. The fourth victim was screenwriter Wojciech Frykowski, boyhood friend of Roman Polanski. And the fifth victim is one everyone forgets about, an 18-year-old man named Stephen Parent. Parent didn't know any of the victims, but found himself at the Celio Drive home that night visiting the caretaker of the house, a man named William Garretson, who lived in the guest house. So that's who was murdered. Moving on. Wait, did you think I wasn't going to describe the scene in detail? Come on, you should know better than that. So, how did all this go down? Well, upon gaining entrance to the Polanski home, Tex Watson found Wojciech Frykowski sleeping on a living room couch. As Frykowski groggily woke up, Watson kicked him in the head hard. When Frykowski demanded just who the fuck Watson was and what the fuck he was doing in the home, Tex Watson chillingly replied, quote, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business," end quote. Abigail Folger, Jay Sebring, and Sharon Tate were rounded up, and Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring were bound together at the neck by a length of rope, while the other end of the rope was thrown over a ceiling beam. Tied up helplessly and hopelessly, Sebring complained about how an 8-month pregnant Sharon Tate was being treated, manhandled. In response to Sebring's complaints, Tex Watson shot him and stabbed him 7 times. Sharon Tate was now helplessly bound to a dead man, her ex-lover. Wojciech Frykowski and Abigail Folger somehow managed to get free of the killers, though only temporarily. And ultimately, Tex Watson caught Frykowski on the house's front porch. Watson beat Frykowski over the head with his gun with such force that the gun broke. He then stabbed Frykowski multiple times and shot him twice. Meanwhile, Abigail Folger also managed to make it out of the house and out onto the front lawn, but Patricia Krenwinkel caught up to Folger, tackled her to the ground, and stabbed her. By this time, Watson, too, caught up with Folger, and together Krenwinkel and Watson stabbed Folger an additional 28 times. Yeah. And believe it or not, Frykowski, still not dead, even after being shot and stabbed and beaten over the head, somehow made his way off the porch and tried to crawl across the lawn to freedom. But Watson got to him first, and he proceeded to stab Frykowski an additional 51 times. It's a fucking animal, this guy is. Now, back inside the house, Sharon Tate was still alive and still bound and totally helpless next to a dead Jay Sebring. Sharon Tate begged to live long enough to have her baby. Of course, that didn't happen. Either Susan Adkins or Tex Watson, or both, stabbed Sharon Tate 16 times, killing both mother and unborn child. Watson later said that while Sharon Tate was being killed, she repeatedly cried, "Mother! Mother! Mother!" Finally, after the deed was done and everyone was dead, on Manson orders to leave something witchy and Black Panther-like at the crime scene, Susan Adkins wrote the word pig on the front door of 10050 Celio Drive in Sharon Tate's blood. Now, Adkins writing the word pig in blood on the front door is significant because it was a word the Black Panther Party used to describe the police. Remember, one of the theories is that Manson wanted to kick off that race war, Helter Skelter. So leaving a message associated with the Panther Party at a crime scene where 4 popular, beautiful, rich white people were murdered was a surefire way to kick off the apocalypse. Well, let me clarify. 5 white people were murdered that night. Remember Stephen Parent, the kid visiting the caretaker, Bill Garretson. He was killed too. Shot 5 times in his car while trying to leave the property. Now, I've seen the crime photos from that night. They're out there. You could look them up. And what I can tell you, Absolute bloody carnage. Seeing what became of the beautiful Sharon Tate, obviously very pregnant, and laying on the floor on her left side, in front of a couch, her nightgown drenched in blood, with a huge pool of blood swelling out in front of her, and still tied to Jay Sebring with that length of rope. It's just a nightmare. And Jay Sebring, too, he was a bloody mess. Found with some sort of a white cover, maybe a pillowcase over his head. And Abigail Folger, torn to shreds, gaping wounds on her face and torso. In one photo I saw, some of Abigail Folger's insides were on her outside. And poor Frykowski, he looked like a goddamn pincushion. The devil really was in the house that night, doing the devil's business. Later that Saturday morning, August 9th, 1969, Polanski housekeeper, Miss Winifred Chapman, entered the Celio Drive home as she always would. Instead of finding a beautiful, statuesque, pregnant Sharon Tate and her famous director husband eating breakfast or having coffee together, or maybe discussing the latest headlines from the newspaper, Miss Chapman found bloody carnage. Running from the home in terror, Chapman shouted, "There's bodies all over the place, and blood." The police were called, and the rest is history. Now here's an interesting side note about the Celio Drive home. The last resident of the home was none other than Trent Reznor, frontman for the incredibly popular band Nine Inch Nails. Reznor started renting the home in 1992, and he nicknamed the house Pig, after what was left in blood on the house's front door. A lot of the awesome Nine Inch Nails album Downward Spiral was recorded in the murder house, and the music video for their 1992 song Gave Up was filmed inside the home. And portions of Marilyn Manson's debut album Portrait of an American Family were recorded and mixed in the home as well.
Oh, really? Wow.
Trent Reznor eventually moved out, and ultimately the home was torn down in 1994, but not before Reznor took the front door, the same door that had the word pig written on it in Sharon Tate's blood, as a macabre memento. Reznor said he never had any paranormal experiences in the house, but he did say that whenever he heard a noise or any little sound, it would make him jump. He said there were no ghosts, but the home did feel sad. Peacefully sad.
Yeah. No, this is like their. I mean, this is probably their biggest carnage, right, of the whole thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of the No More for Remorse. It's crazy the amount of, and also like the fact that text guy couldn't resist like a badass horrible line to say.
Oh, dude!
Like, come on.
Yeah, that's in every. I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business.
It's such a
fuck, man,
egotistical line to say to someone he's about to kill.
Piece of shit.
What a piece of shit! Yeah,
he's an animal.
Yeah, you know, it also begs the question, like, a perfect example of the question, like, who is crazy, the crazy person, the crazy leader, or the crazy followers? Like, who's crazier?
That is such that statement right there plays into a lot of the conspiracy about this.
Yeah, it must, because it's in degrees, and it's not one answer.
Yeah, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but
yeah.
Manson was locked up just as Tex Watson was. Tex Watson stabbed someone 51 times. And you'll see he committed more murders.
Yeah, no.
Manson didn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
Never did.
Yeah.
But yet he caught the same sentence as everybody else. It's fucked up.
Because, I mean, that's a strange crime.
I have theories about this.
And that's a strange crime, because is brainwashing a crime, and then therefore, how far should we extend that? To religious sects?
At what point is a person responsible for their own fucking actions?
I mean, where does the Scientology fit into that? If you want to talk about fringe, wacky religions that have a cult leader to them, although I know that one particularly, the originator of Scientology is dead, but the one that's on there now, or if you could think of big things like Christianity and stuff, like all that. I mean, I'm not saying they're cults, but you think of Jehovah's Witnesses, people get out of there, they're saying it's a cult.
Scientology, Jehovah's Witness, it's cult.
It's cults. That's what they say, and it's cannot be denied, and it's similar shit.
Yeah.
Just because it's not leading to straight out directed murder with a directed purpose, because Manson's cult was short. It didn't get long enough to see how farther it could go.
Yeah, thank God.
Thank God. But it would have been like a nice manual for us uncults to see and decipher this kind of behavior.
Yeah.
I figure, who's crazier? The person who made up the story about Helter Skelter, or the people who actually believe it's going to happen?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we have to think about that question, I think, throughout this whole thing.
Definitely.
Who's crazier? So after the Tate murders, Terry Melcher, believing he was the slaughterer's intended target, hired bodyguards, went into hiding, and underwent serious psychiatric treatment because he was so frightened of Manson. In fact, it said Melcher was the most frightened of all the witnesses against Manson. Terry Melcher went on to produce more records and work in television, and he died in 2004 of melanoma. Now, if one mass murder, apparently one mass murder wasn't enough, I guess. The very next night, August 10th, 1969, the Manson family struck again. This time, Charlie Manson took the same group of killers from the night before, plus Leslie Van Houten and a man named Clem Grogan, to 3301 Waverly Drive in North Los Angeles, the home of Leno and Rosemary Labianca. The Labiancas owned a chain of grocery stores. Just normal, fairly wealthy, upper-middle-class people live in the California dream. Maybe. There's stories about the Labiancas, but those, too, will have to wait for another episode. Now, if you remember, earlier, I mentioned that before the Manson family moved to Spahn Ranch, a number of them very briefly lived in a home next to 3301 Waverly Drive, next to the Labiancas. I believe the home they stayed in was empty because it was for sale or something like that. So anyway, Manson knew the Labiancas, and apparently even knew the layout of their home. On the 10th, once arriving on scene, Manson and Tex Swanson entered the Labianca home and tied up Leno and his wife, Rosemary. By all accounts, Manson then left the Labianca home, leaving his three killers to do the devil's work. Tex then ordered Patricia Krenwinkel and Leslie Van Houten to go into the kitchen and fetch some knives. In the meantime, Tex took Rosemary into the bedroom and put a pillowcase over her head, and that pillowcase was secured with a lamp cord. Bound, blind, and terrified, Rosemary began desperately calling out to her husband, and that's when Van Houten and Krenwinkel stabbed Rosemary LaBianca 14 or 16 times, or other reports say up to 41 times, killing her, I know.
It's a big jump.
It is. Leno LaBianca also had a pillowcase placed over his head, and he was stabbed with a fork in the stomach and a knife in the neck, and the word war was carved into his stomach with a fork. Patricia Krenwinkel wrote the words "Death to Pigs," "Helter Skelter," and "Rise" on kitchen walls in blood. Death to Pigs, Rise, and War being obvious nods to the Black Panthers. After killing the couple, Watson, Krenwinkel, and Van Houten showered, made dinner in the LaBianca home, then hitchhiked back to Spahn Ranch.
That's crazy.
Now, the murders at Celio Drive were terrible, but the killing of the LaBiancas the very next night sent shockwaves through Hollywood. According to Vincent Bugliosi, author of the fantastic book Helter Skelter, and prosecuting attorney in the Manson, Adkins, Krenwinkel, and Van Houten trial, after the LaBianca murders, Frank Sinatra went into hiding, and Mia Farrow wouldn't attend her friend Sharon's funeral because, according to Mia, she was afraid that she would be next. Tony Bennett moved from his bungalow on the grounds of the Beverly Hills Hotel to an inside suite for greater security. Steve McQueen began keeping a weapon under the front seat of his car, and Jerry Lee Lewis installed an alarm system in his house, complete with closed-circuit TV. Manson got what he wanted. California was terrified, if that's what he was after. Now, to me, it's the Labianca murders that say there's something more going on with Manson. Remember, one theory is that the Tate murders were orchestrated to call attention away from Bobby Beausoleil and his murder of Gary Hinman, right? If that's truly what Manson was after, why the Labianca murders? The Tate killings had a lot of similarities to the Hinman murder, namely the stabbing and the writing of Black Panther slogans in blood. Beausoleil was in custody when the Tate murders happened. So if copycat murders to prove Beausoleil's innocence was Manson's goal, that goal would have been met with the Tate murders. Absolutely no need to kill the Labiancas. What, Manson put everything at risk again the very next night to further prove Beausoleil's innocence? It doesn't make sense. Now, in the early morning hours of Saturday, August 16th, 1969, while most suspects were still asleep, Spahn Ranch was raided by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department when more than 100 deputies swarmed over the near 500-acre ranch shortly after 6 a.m. Officers searched the buildings while a helicopter monitored from above, and at least 26 suspects were arrested at Spahn Ranch raid for various charges, ranging from grand theft auto, assault with a deadly weapon, and burglary. Among the arrested was Charles Manson, Susan Adkins, or Sexy Sadie, Lynette Squeaky Frum, and approximately another 9 men and 13 women. At first, police had no idea Manson and his followers were tied to the Tate LaBianca murders. They were there to arrest petty criminals, not vicious murderers. The group was rounded up and hauled in, but because of an error on a search warrant, it had an incorrect date, the group was let go. Go figure. Manson, he was spooked by the raid, and rumors of family involvement in the recent horrendous murders began to circulate among those living at Spahn Ranch. So Manson decided it was time to move. But before they moved, there was an issue to deal with. And that issue was named Donald Shorty Shae. Shorty Shae was a working Hollywood stuntman and ranch hand at Spahn Ranch. Shorty liked George Spahn, and he always looked after George's interests, the owner of Spahn Ranch.
Yeah, the old guy.
Right, the old blind getting fucked guy.
Yeah.
By Squeaky Frum. When the Manson family moved on to Spahn Ranch, at first, Shorty didn't mind. After all, there were naked girls running around, smoking pot, dropping acid, and singing songs. Who wouldn't like that? It wasn't until Manson began giving Shorty shit for having once married a black stripper, and sometimes Shorty's black wife, Magdalena, and her black friends would stay at the ranch. Manson absolutely loathed when they came by, screaming racist. That, and one day Shorty caught Manson beating up a mutual female friend. And apparently, Shorty whipped Manson's ass for it.
Was it a cultist or just someone else? Just someone?
No, it was a friend. It was over a car.
Okay.
It was over a car. After that, Shorty really despised Manson.
I bet.
And wanted him and his family off the Spahn Ranch property. The sooner the better. Now, because Manson had his little spy, Lynette Frum, inside George Spahn's house, basically as a house slave for George, we talked about this in the last episode, Manson caught wind of Shorty's feelings about him and is wanting the family off of the property. Charlie was convinced that the early morning raid on Spahn Ranch on August 16th, 1969,
Came from him.
Yep, was all Shorty's doing. Shorty Shae was a snitch, and he needed to go. So, sometime around August 28th, 1969, family members Tex Watson, Bruce Davis, Steve Grogan, Bill Vance, Larry Bailey, and apparently Charles Manson took Shorty Shae for a ride, under the guise of going to a salvage yard. What's really sad is that Steve Grogan was an existing Spawn Ranch hand. That's tough to say.
Yeah, it's tongue twister.
He knew Shorty well, but Grogan fell in love with the Manson family, especially the women, and he became an official family member.
Oh, was he like indoctrinated appropriately, or was he just, his dick was just so happy?
Yeah, pretty much that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, and Manson was too happy to bring out another family member.
But yeah, and probably another guy couldn't hurt either.
Yeah. So anyway, while driving the car, from the back seat, Steve Grogan struck Shorty with a pipe wrench, while Tex Watson began stabbing him. The group took Shorty out of the car, brought him down a hill behind Spawn Movie Ranch, and stabbed him to death. They buried him right there on the property. Autopsy reports showed that Shorty had suffered stab and chopping wounds to the chest and blunt force trauma to the head. Not a single document I read mentions Charles Manson himself participating in the murder, actually stabbing or bashing Shorty.
He seems like a order giver, not a doer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was just
doesn't want
there.
to get his hands dirty.
Yes, he was just there, likely orchestrating.
Mm-hmm.
Shorty's body was discovered in 1977 when Steve Grogan drew a map to the body from his prison cell. Not too long after killing Shorty, once again, the Manson family hit the road and settled onto Barker Ranch near Death Valley. And if you remember, Death Valley is where the Manson family was to hide while Helter Skelter wiped out civilization. At Barker Ranch, the family spent a lot of time turning stolen cars into dune buggies, which apparently were needed for navigating the desert when Helter Skelter came. Mad Max style, I guess. Authorities got word that stolen cars were being stored on Barker Ranch, so on October 10th, 1969, authorities once again swooped in and captured a number of family members. But Manson wasn't around for this raid. But he came back to Barker Ranch on October 12th, and he was quickly apprehended. Authorities still didn't know Manson's involvement in the Tate Labianca murders. Police thought it was all about stolen cars. It wasn't until Susan Adkins started bragging about the murders to a cellmate that the whole thing began to unravel.
Oh, wow.
Adkins was offered life in prison instead of the death penalty if she flipped on the family. She refused, but wound up telling her story to a grand jury, but she later recanted her story. All in all, it took 20 minutes for the grand jury to hand down murder indictments on Charles Manson, Tex Watson, Patricia Krenwinkel, Susan Adkins, Linda Kasabian, and Leslie Van Houten. Linda Kasabian became the prosecution's main witness. Manson, Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Van Houten were all tried together. The chief prosecutor, Vincent Bugliosi, author of Helter Skelter, offered Kasabian prosecutorial immunity for her testimony. Kasabian agreed, giving Bugliosi the final piece of the puzzle needed to convict Manson and the others. The challenge for Bugliosi was to get the jury to find Manson as responsible for the murders as those who actually committed the murders.
Yeah, that must have been a tough nut to crack.
Yeah. And Manson's courtroom antics helped Bugliosi accomplish this task. On the very first day of court, Manson showed up with a bloody swastika carved into his forehead. He tried to stare down Bugliosi, and with a series of hand gestures, Manson had his three women disrupt the courtroom, all in hopes of a mistrial. At the end of the day, it was Linda Kasabian, the star witness, and her account of the murders and the control that Manson had over the family that nailed Bugliosi's case. She told the jury that no family member ever wanted to tell Charlie Manson no. On January 25th, 1971, the jury returned a guilty verdict for all defendants and on all the counts of first-degree murder. Manson, like the other three defendants, was sentenced to death in the gas chamber. Manson shouted, "You people have no authority over me," as he was led off in handcuffs. But of course, California overturned the death penalty in 1972, so no Manson family member was ever put to death. Instead, their death convictions were turned into life sentences.
Yeah.
Now, as for Charles Manson, he was originally sent to San Quentin.
Yeah, Van. Yeah.
The next
San
one,
Quentin's younger brother. Yes.
well, the next one is Vacaville.
Oh.
So he was originally sent to San Quentin, then to Vacaville, then to Folsom Prison, then back to San Quentin, then on to Cochrane Prison, where he stayed until his death. Throughout Manson's prison term, he was beaten, raped, set on fire,
Really?
and poisoned.
Damn.
He spent most of his time in the hole or in protective custody. He lived through it all the while making guards' lives hell.
Oh, he personally kept going crazy antics?
Oh, he was an asshole. Just a complete dick in prison.
It seems also, we go back to a little bit with the court, what helped brought him down to the prosecutor anyway, to Bugliosi, is
His
that
antics,
his self-defense mechanism that served them well enough led to the stamp of approval to his downfall, right?
That's right.
It led him to...
That's a great point.
Get incarcerated faster. Like, whatever problem Bugliosi might have had, his Manson's self-help version of things helped him out.
That's right. Yeah, because all throughout his coming of age in the reform school system and prison system, he perfected that crazy thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that ultimately was his downfall.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. Now, Charles Manson died at the age of 83 on November 19th, 2017. He had colon cancer, and a heart attack did him in. 2 days before Manson's death, in what is believed to be his last ever telephone call, Charles Manson said the following to his longtime friend, Ben Gurecki. Gone in the sky, the dead but never die. None yet found, just a dream of heresy. Whose, what's, why's, for what? We each can make up our own dreams with the storyline as soon as we are nowhere we could change. As soon as I get up, out, around me will become a team. The beast, a priest, midnight, and not as much as all. Nothing with everyone, and everything over and gone to start backwards again, and again to nowhere and nothing again. To where you know it all as forever and some more. Nothing again to where you know it all as forever and some more. Love for all. You are or could maybe and more. Not at... And then the call was cut off by the Cochrane State Prison. And that's verbatim. Verbatim.
Yeah.
Ben Gurecki also revealed that Charles Manson wasn't afraid of death, and he believed he would be reincarnated as a scorpion or a crow. Now, as for Susan Atkins, Sexy Sadie, she died in prison of a brain tumor on September 24th, 2009, at Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla. Tex Watson is still alive. He's 73 years old and incarcerated at Mule Creek State Prison outside of Sacramento, California. His last parole attempt was October 2016. And like always, it was denied. Leslie Van Houten, she's still alive and is 69 years old. She's incarcerated at the California Institution for Women in Chino. Since 2016, the California Parole Board has suggested she be released from prison, saying that Van Houten has been a model prisoner for nearly 40 years and is a changed person. The last time she came up for parole was January 2019, and once again, the parole board voted she be released. Now, that decision is under a 5-month review, so hopefully we'll hear something soon.
Very soon.
June. This month. Patricia Krenwinkel, still alive, still in prison, and she's 71 years old. And she has the honor of being the longest incarcerated woman in California's prison system.
You're kidding.
Krenwinkel is at the California Institution for Women in Corona, California, and she's been denied parole 14 times. Linda Kasabian, still alive and 70 years old. For her testimony against the Manson family, Linda Kasabian was given immunity. Remember, Kasabian never went into the Tate house, nor did she enter the Labianca residence. She was just there, on the peripheral, acting as a lookout.
Yeah, the lookout.
So she got off, and after the trial, Kasabian moved to New Hampshire with her mother. And from there, she changed her name and went dark. She was found, however, somewhere out west, location unnamed, in 2009, by documentary filmmakers working on a story about Charles Manson. She was found to be piss broke and living in a shitty trailer park.
That's terrible.
So, why do we conjure Manson's name whenever the term serial killer comes up? He wasn't a serial killer.
As a matter of fact, even the crimes that he got others to commit seems to be more like a murder spree.
Yeah.
Than a serial
sure
killing.
Spree.
You know, it isn't killing because you have to kill. It isn't for a certain lust
Get
or
off sexual
extreme fetishes,
yes,
right?
Yes, good.
It isn't any of those things. It's but you think of even a movie like Natural Born Killers, which is about serial killers.
Yeah.
In that movie, for them, the king to beat is Manson. And it's a sensationalized, amazing movie. I love that movie because of what it shows the media as a culprit into all that fanaticism. But even in that movie, and growing up, you always see Manson as a serial killer, but he's not only not technically a serial killer, he hasn't done any of it.
He hasn't killed anybody.
Right.
He attempted.
Right. But it's like for example, allow me to make an exaggerated point by saying this example. Harry S. Truman told someone to drop the bomb. Who was in charge? The person who dropped the bomb, the person who made the bomb, him who ordered it. He didn't drop the bomb in Japan, on Japan. He didn't do that, And likewise, but it is on him, right? We all say he did it.
Yeah.
Right. He made the decision.
Yeah.
But, the driver didn't have to do it. A lot of people didn't have to do it along the way. And it's, I don't know if it's the same, if there's like a spectrum where you see that example and this example and what's so different between them.
Shit. Not much.
But I do find him completely culpable, Manson.
Yeah, so...
he's not even human. By the time he even starts going in California, like the beatings and rapings, to see rapings like that and beatings on himself, and then what he perpetrates others eventually, is it's when it's seen as, it happens as the day is long kind of feeling.
Right, yeah, just nothing. It's
nothing. Like, it's not...
Comes to territory.
I'm not saying it's not human. It's inhuman. But it's savage conditioning.
Yes.
And it's like...
That's what he was. He was a hardened criminal. A con.
I'm just glad he wasn't smarter. Or he just glad of a lot of things that didn't happen.
Yeah.
If this had to happen, right?
All right. So a serial killer? Definitely not.
No.
An expert manipulator? Yes.
Oh.
A terrible person? Yes.
Complete asshole, even post-prison stuff, apparently what you said. Well, the way he was acting in prison, right?
Right. But a serial killer, no. Why was Manson given the same sentence as someone who commits heinous, murderous crimes? It's curious.
I mean, it's like saying, well, people could easily say, well, if it wasn't for Manson, Tex would never have been there to kill people, right? But you can say that about, like, well, if his parents didn't fuck, then they wouldn't create Manson. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, yeah, now the parents responsible.
Right. I mean, to an extent, they are, for sure, that their upbringing's terrible, but not everyone can be defined like that.
Right.
Right, obviously.
Now, Tex Watson, yeah, that asshole deserved his sentence. He was a maniac. But Manson, we know that he shot Bernard LotsaPoppa Crowe.
Yeah.
We have other people's words that Manson was involved in stuntman Shorty Shae's death. And rumor has it Manson cut off Gary Hinman's ear. But they're just words. No one truly knows if it happened or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm sure he did a lot of it, but in the court of law, everyone was running around in an acid-fueled haze and floating in marijuana clouds back then. Could any of their testimony be trusted?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the case, Charles Manson went to prison for the final time at the age of 37, And he died in prison at 81. Someone felt he needed to be gone. Silenced, maybe? The hole that forms when looking into all of Manson's connections in Hollywood, in the political arena, goes very deep. I truly believe that someone or a group of people wanted Manson silenced for one reason or another. And they had him. He was given the death sentence. But who could have foreseen California overturning the death penalty? And I really think that Manson was such a hardened fucking criminal, he would rather live out the rest of his days in prison than squeal on God knows who about God knows what. And we'll talk more about that and other conspiracies and shadowy connections in the next and final Charles Manson episode. But until then, I wanted to end on a quote from one of Manson's friends at the time all this was going down. He said of Manson, quote, "You could almost see the devil and angel in him fighting it out. I guess the devil finally won," end quote.
Yes, I'm ready at 5 and 4, 3, fucking cocks.